Hello, how are you doing today? I hope it's a great day. Um, Theology Thursday. It's an exciting time for us to talk a little bit about theology. And let's see now. Do we have David? It's storming here, so I hope the internet holds up through this process. It's moving pretty slow adding him.
Hey.
Where are you?
I
I don't know if it's breaking up.
You see? You look incredulous. It might be my
Huh?
fault. So you look
Okay,
incredulous.
so incredulous. Can I get a working definition?
Like you can't believe I'm calling you from here. Like you look astounded. Like, whoa, why are you doing that?
You know what?
What's
Hey!
going on, Mara? How we doing?
It's going good. It's storming a little bit here, so I don't know if it's breaking up on your end or my end.
It
But
could be me. It could be me. We won't be on here. We won't be on here a long time tonight. You know, I got to get dinner after a long day at work.
I mean, it sounds like it looks like you're at a very sociable place. So,
I ain't necessarily being
um,
sociable.
okay, well, you're at a hungry place for hungry people when they get off work.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. So
That's horrible. That's
that ain't
horrible.
Kojic. I know that ain't Kojic.
Well, you know what? I, I'm gonna let that win. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go.
All right.
Um, so, where do we begin? Where do we begin?
Well, how about we start with the mission project because you did a lot of work on it, and we need to kind of put that GoFundMe page link out there and all that stuff. So go ahead, tell me about that. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so the GoFundMe page is up, and we Dave and I put our brains together, and of course we both have our own separate ideas. And I made an executive decision because I felt like my idea was better. And so our hashtag is 1615. Hashtag 1615, and I'll be adding that in the link. So the GoFundMe is the 1615 challenge.
1615 what?
Challenge.
Challenge. Okay, good. I like it.
hmm And so, would you like to explain how we came up with 1615?
All right. Okay, that's good. The Great Commission in Mark, the 16th chapter, in the 15th verse, and that is what missions is all about. So we're going out into the world, except this time we are raising money so that other people can go out into the world and we can feel better about not doing it.
No, 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 no,
I'm
no.
joking. I'm just playing. Because you,
No,
because
no,
you,
no, no,
you, you
no.
plan on going. You going out to the world.
I'm I'm going. I'm going, and we'll discuss the Kojic initiative aspect of that later.
All right.
I don't want to sidetrack the current issue, which is that we are raising
Yes.
funds to give a
To the missions
contribution
department. To.
to the missions
That's right.
department.
That's right. That's right. And I'm very excited about that. And I think it's a very inspired idea. And so as soon as we get it going good, I'm looking forward to God blessing us with that. So let's keep it going. I want us to start it. Put that GoFundMe page out there, everybody. I don't care if you could give me $1, $6, and I don't care if you raise $20 or $20,000. It's all going to go to the missions department. There is no administration fee. There is no. Thank you. Can I have some Tabasco sauce, please? Oh yeah.
How you sell admissions and need to ask for Tabasco sauce? Yes, you are staying stateside. You stay stateside. You're stateside. You stay
So,
silent.
so anyway, Marvin. Okay,
Because,
but we wanna go ahead and make our impression on missions, and we have some things that we want to do just to inspire, you know, missions folks that I know. We got a great missions team in Tennessee. I cannot lie about it. They inspire me. They do a lot of things in the nation and in the world, and I'm really impressed by them. Um,
well, and one of the things that we have to talk about when we discuss missions is the historical context of how significant missions is to the Church of God in
very
Christ.
significant.
And so, in actuality, missions was one of the places where women were initially welcomed to serve in the church. And while we were in Atlanta, I had the awesome privilege of working with Dr.
Yeah,
Exaday,
Dorothy.
and she she had some wonderful insight about going into ministry that doesn't look like what a lot of people define as
She's a
ministry.
very wise woman.
And so, yes, missions is a place to challenge your definition of what it means to share the gospel and what it means to be in ministry.
Amen.
Because if your version of ministry is about wearing a suit and cufflinks, then that's only one aspect
I
of
am so
ministry.
guilty. I got a lot of cufflinks. Got a lot of
You know
suits.
what? I'm glad you have cufflinks because I know some people that don't own cufflinks, but that's a whole other story. But you know what? You can so sidetrack the issue with something random. Um, so we're definitely pushing the hashtag
Yes.
1615, and you will start to see that showing up on social
Hope
media.
so.
Um, I held off on doing a lot of social media stuff because I wanted David and I to take this time to really talk about it. But as you all can see, his need for food has kind of sidetracked him being in a space where we can really make this a long-term thing. So we won't be on here really long
Yeah,
today
I got off
because
late. I got off late.
he's searching for hot
I
sauce.
no. I got that. I got that. That's right here. I got that.
You know
I
what?
got that. But
See, I have to remember you're an hour behind me because, here I'm thinking, who's eating hot sauce at this time of
oh yeah.
night? But you have an extra
But
hour.
it's I mean it still don't make it no better. You know.
No,
But it's gonna be all right.
it doesn't make it no
That's right. That's
better.
right. I
Okay.
get to talk ebonically from time to time, just to let people know that I'm in touch with the real people. Got my ear to the ground. I don't have to sound sophisticated every time. But real
Okay.
quick, Mario, before we get off, I want to talk about this right here. I'm gonna
Okay.
talk about this thing from a different angle. All right,
You're going to talk about which thing?
you know,
Missions or
Cosby,
liberation
Cosby and
theology?
Kavanaugh.
Okay, you know what? Those are sore thumbs for me
Just
right
hang in
now.
there though. You got to check this out though. You should check this out. Check this out.
Those are sore thumbs for me
All
right
right, I
now.
feel you, but hold on. You gotta love this. Hold on.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So now,
Famous last words.
so now I watched Kavanaugh today, and it's really compelling. And I felt the man's pain as a man. If I had daughters, I was under that type of scrutiny, it would get to me. But
Okay, you felt his pain as an adult man, not as a young man. Is that where
I
you're
felt his
saying?
yeah, I felt his pain as a father.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get that because his family is having to go through this with him. Yeah.
And to be a father and to have these type of to be a father of all girls and have these type of
Mm.
allegations against you and having to talk to your girls at night, that's a tough thing. Now,
How old are his
they're
daughters?
young.
Oh,
They're
wow.
young. They're young. They're young. Now, here's the thing with that. What I wanted to talk about was this though. The difference in reactions to pressure. Bill Cosby, they walked this man out of the jailhouse in handcuffs. He's not whining. He ain't crying. He just taking it. My man Kavanaugh, he got under this pressure and looked like he was about to break him. Some folk ain't built for that kind of pressure. Some folk are. I mean, you know, the thing going on with Cosby is a
Well,
killer. It hurts my heart. But to see how he takes it, different thing.
well, so here's my thing is um I can't help but think that the Cosby situation is is from a different angle, and what I mean by that is I want to, and maybe you can help me with the legal side of what happened
Mm.
here, because I want to understand if his verdict was based solely on this single case, because it was not a class action case. And so I want to know if what we saw was a response in totality and not just to this single case. And then secondly, I think it definitely says that for um, no matter how much money you have, no matter how much stature you have, and I mean he's like America's dad,
He
and
was. It's a sad thing.
this is it's a sad thing, but I need to understand if it was actually taken to task based on this single
Hmm.
case, or if the response was enough, because is Pennsylvania have a statute of limitation,
Um,
or how does this there's so many
the-
pieces in this puzzle
Pennsylvania,
other than
Pennsylvania does have a statute of limitations, which is why a lot of those women could not join into the actual criminal case. Now, um, what you get a jury that's determined to punish you, not necessarily because this case right here is a slam dunk, but because of past actions. That's bad business. Um,
what does this, do we know anything about this jury of
yeah,
peers?
the thing about it is, how do you go from a hung jury, 3 weeks earlier, to a conviction, right away? Um, what I'll say is this: I don't even want to comment on the guilt and innocence of the man. Uh, he's guilty of something. I don't know if he's guilty. I feel like with Michael Jackson, like they said, I was like, Michael Jackson, he messed up with some kids, but he didn't sleep with those kids. You know, you know what I'm saying? So,
Well, I still really believe that these women, when they started talking, I don't think any of them thought it would come to this. I
mm,
thought they probably, most all of them thought they would get some kind of out of court settlement, hush money, and it would never come to this.
mm,
I think most of them are really surprised that it ended like
yeah.
this. They probably really thought that they would just get something to go away.
Well, now some of those folks was in it for that. People like Janice Dixon, who I think is just a lousy human being. Um,
Really? Is that your professional opinion?
that's my professional opinion. She's a lousy human being. Um,
Wow.
she just jumped onto this. She jumped onto this Cosby thing just because she wanted to get her name back out there. I don't think Bill Cosby had to drug her. Back in the 70s and 80s, she was sleeping with everybody for free. Why you got to drug somebody who's sleeping with everybody? You a coked up supermodel. I'm sorry.
Well,
I don't want to shame the victim. I guess.
yeah, can you just not? But that's my thing with a lot of these women, because they obviously were okay going into some kind of setting with him that allowed for all of this. So I think there's a lot more to these scenarios than just the pitiful me part. And I'm not going to say, I do believe when a woman says no, that means
I agree.
no. But I will say what was going on in these for these women, because he was a rich man. He was in Hollywood. Come on now. All of y'all didn't just go into the room. Well, y'all, they wasn't going off somewhere with him to have Bible study. Come on,
Not at
really?
all. But
Really?
the thing that
Really?
bothers me is this.
So it's I I women have to make wise decisions.
That,
That's where I
that's the
stand.
problem I
And
have with this. So much of this is that they make women seem as if they are absolutely dumb ninnies, and that's why. And they get and they're just easily taken. They're easily set upon, easily taken advantage of. The women I know ain't dumb like that. Maybe I just know a different breed of women.
that's why I say I want to know how opportunistic some of these women were in wanting to be near him, be around him, be alone with him. Because at what point, when somebody hands something to you and says, take this, not put it in your drink,
Right. But they hand it to you.
they hand it to
Right.
you
Right.
and say, take this. Okay. Um, I don't know a lot of broads that would be like, well, what's this for?
Right.
What you want me to take this for? I ain't taking that.
I mean,
Where it come from?
it,
Women have too many questions
exactly.
for
Exactly. It don't say Tylenol. This don't look like no leave. What is this?
where you get it
Where you
from.
get it from? What
You take one
you take?
first.
Yeah,
That's
you take one
you
first.
take one. I take it if you take it.
Absolutely. So,
But yeah, here again, I'm just a little dumb girl from Appalachia, so I know how these things work in the big city.
but
But in the country, we don't fall for everything.
yeah. But let me say this though, just to keep it 100, because I shared my thoughts about Bill last night, but I really wanted to draw the contrast between the reactions of
Mm.
Judge Kavanaugh under pressure, the reactions under pressure. I mean, Bill Cosby, man, he under pressure. He leaves the courtroom, you know,
Well, no, come on.
smiling,
He's
hands up.
81 and blind. Somebody got to lead him around.
Well, I know,
And
I
and
know, but still,
and
man,
that's
he
that's
didn't
a
he didn't
sad
wilt.
that's a sad.
He didn't
Well,
fall
but you
apart.
know what? So let me say this. Black men are very
That's what
resilient.
I'm trying. That's exactly where I'm going with this.
We don't see our men fall apart in situations like
Right.
that. They may respond with some epitaphs every now
Yeah,
and
they might
again,
cuss you
but
out, but they're not gonna fall
yeah,
apart.
well,
Yeah, they gonna do
yeah,
something. They
they
ain't gonna fall apart.
just for the most part, black men I think take things in stride because they're used to
They
um
it's like they're used to a certain level of whatever. I mean,
and money doesn't change that.
Judge Kavanaugh. Every black guy I know feel like they know what it is to have a false charge be brought against them. This guy he experiences it for the first time. He's about to wilt. You know.
Well, but now here's the thing. That's usually how that goes because there are certain people who live in their entitlement and they're not used to the cards being against them.
Right. And
And
when it happens, they don't know how to handle it.
they
They
don't know how to
don't
handle. I
handle
mean, you
it.
see it all the time with when stocks fall or something,
Mm-hmm.
a black man be like, well, we just gonna go back to eating ramen noodles, and if you love me, you'll stay here and eat ramen noodles with me. If you don't, the next chick will. You
Because
know,
it's more because
that's
it's less of me and more of y'all. So go on, girl.
yeah. So our worldview is so different. How we respond to personal crises
Right.
is so different.
Exactly.
Because our context has taught us a different mechanism for the most
Yeah.
part. And I think you see some of that in Cosby because remember, he is not just a round the way brother, he's a very well rounded, educated brother.
Right.
So he's used to. He came up in Hollywood
Right.
in a time it was him and Sidney Poitier were like
That was it.
it.
Yeah.
They were
That was
it
it.
in Hollywood at one time. So he's used to What they
Hmm.
say behind your
Yeah.
back, what they don't say, what they say under their
Right.
breath. He's used to all of
Right.
that. And now he's 81. I mean, he
Right.
ain't got no fight left in
No,
him. But
I
I
don't.
was
I don't know
really,
about no fight. I mean, Bill Cosby got a lot of money and a lot of fight left in him. He's got 3 grounds of appeal in this case. Trust me, he's gonna appeal this thing to the death. Uh,
now what are those 3 grounds?
the judge brought in past actions into this particular case. He allowed 5 women that were not a party to the situation to testify as to Bill Cosby's past actions. Um, he allowed 2 or 3 illegal recordings of Bill Cosby to be used to be entered into evidence, and
What makes them illegal recordings?
because in the state of Pennsylvania,
Without his
yeah,
knowledge?
you can't do it. You can't record in the state of Pennsylvania without knowledge, without the third party knowledge. Um, and the third one was in the sentencing. Um, when he declared Bill Cosby as a predatory sex offender. All right.
Yeah, like where
Yeah. So
yeah,
that, 2 of the 3 are really really strong. The third one not so strong, but it still counts, and he's got enough money to fight it. I'm praying for Camille. She's been a rock through all this. Um,
definitely pray for
you
Camille.
know, um,
Because here's the thing
and
about black love.
Bill has learned a valuable lesson. I'm not saying he's innocent. Please don't anybody get me
Uh,
twisted. I love Bill Cosby.
No, I mean
I'm
there's
not saying he's innocent.
there's a
He done
lot
some stuff. He
of
done some
going
stuff.
on there.
Oh yeah.
Some things that have happened. But I want to say this about black love. I hope that we'll see Camille's response follow through on that. I think we will, and I hope we will. Um, that's a lot to handle, but I'm just an advocate for, relationship problems get handled within the relationship. And when we go out and before the rest of the world, we're a united front. I'm hardcore
Right.
for that.
Right. Right.
If we got to bust each other upside the head, do it in private. But when we go out, doggone it, we right, you know. And I hope that she stays in that, and I hope speaking engagements and things like she usually stays pretty low
Yeah.
key. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that she won't get sucked into some scenario where they start trying to, you know, emotionalize her into saying some
She's
things.
not gonna do that. I
Um,
mean, even she doesn't give a lot of interviews. Um, when she dealt with the death of her children, she was very very, you know, in her own world. She didn't act out. She's very dignified. So she'll be dignified now. And Bill Cosby, you
yeah,
know, he'll be all right. Unfortunately, the man's lost his name forever. But hopefully, if he's able to go through these 3 years, 22 and a half months, something like that. Hopefully,
3 to 10.
yeah, it's only gonna be 3. It won't only be 3. It's gonna be like
Well, and here's the
two.
thing: he's probably going to end up in a medical facility anyway. So
Um, yeah, that's true.
it won't be as harsh as being in regular population. Um, but I mean, I still hate to see it happen. It's
Yeah.
hate to see it happen, but
Well,
um.
and so today, no, let me say this.
So do you think Kavanaugh is? Do you think Kavanaugh is innocent?
If I'm going on what this woman was talking about, yeah, yeah. I mean, you let me explain. I will. Here's the thing.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
waiting. Yeah, because I haven't followed that case quite as
Yeah.
much as I've kept up with the Cosby one.
Hmm.
So um, I'm not sure I've gotten all the ins and outs. But
Okay.
if you have some insight,
The,
let's
the
go for
problem
it.
is this: we let our politics tell us who's guilty and innocent. It's bad business.
Mm,
All right. Um, the thing with Kavanaugh is he's gone through 6 or 7 FBI background checks.
Sean is asking what's wrong with the video.
I don't
Is it
know.
my
I
video or
don't know.
your
It looks pretty
video?
good to me.
I
Yeah,
mean, it's
looks like
fine on
fine to
this
me.
end, so I don't know, Sean. I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, it looks pretty good to
Is
me.
it cutting up or is it
Yeah, I hope
pausing?
it's all right.
Because it's storming. It's storming here, so it might be a little glitch in there. I don't
Yeah.
see it. I don't know. But anyway, go ahead. What
All
were you
right.
saying?
So 36 FBI background checks. He's been in the public eye since 2000 when he was in the Bush administration. Everybody knows about this guy. Then one day, 2012, Mitt Romney said, "I'd appoint this guy to the Supreme Court if I was ever elected president." At this point right here, this woman, she says, "Yo, I had this flashback, and all these people saw it." So she says that this guy tried to take her somewhere and touch on her, and that 4 people saw it. All 4 of those people said that they never saw this. Her best friend said she don't even know this guy, and you know, all she has
Now, how old were they supposed to be when this happened?
15 and 17
Why is this even a subject?
because it is because it's a subject because of Roe versus Wade. The white folk want to be able to kill as many babies as they can, especially black babies. They like to really kill your black babies in the womb.
Oh, of course, but now you're gonna have to connect the dots between this case and Roe v. Wade. I'm gonna need you to connect a dot here because
They think
I don't see the
they think
dots.
if Kavanaugh gets appointed, that
Oh, his appoint.
he'll be
Okay,
the fifth vote against
okay, I
her.
got you. I got
You
you.
know,
So well, let me make sure I got this
let's get it
straight.
straight.
So, for the sake of integrity, to save lives, we'll take whatever story we can get from how many decades ago about anything that he might have could have done as a puberty driven teenager.
Yeah, that's right.
Heaven help us all if something that we did in puberty frames our life at this point. I think everybody just really,
I hope.
that was what threw me because I was trying to figure out like what does this have to do with if this is, because even under the legal system, trying adults and trying children is totally different mechanisms. So
But see, Marvel, the thing is, they were getting ridiculous. For example,
so
the last,
this is all for Roe v. Wade.
yeah, it is.
This is
It's all about abortion.
this is the web we would like to weave.
Exactly. It's all about abortion.
So what does that say about our
Oh my God!
morals?
Don't even start with that.
Because if we're going to say that this is about a value system of saving lives of unborn children, being an advocate for those who have no advocate, and so forth and so on, but what are we saying when our integrity in how we go about that?
Let's let me. You're asking a really deep question, and this food is calling me. So we're gonna take up that question next week.
You know what?
I'm gonna say this right. I'm gonna say this right quick.
You know what? I can't answer a real serious question because this food, I'm looking at this
Yeah, he's
food
killing
right
me. He's
now.
killing me. Look, here's a big deal. Here's the thing. When you go when you go to the extremes, for example, you bring up this point about integrity. The, the last accusation against this man was there was some woman who said that him and his best friend were having these parties and
As
as teenagers,
teenagers.
and they were drugging women and they were raping them. Right? This woman said she went to 10 of those parties and she saw women get gang raped in 10 of those
Wait, wait,
parties.
wait, wait. She went to, so she wasn't appalled enough the first
Right?
time to not
She
go.
kept going back.
See that now you see how these scenarios start to irritate me, because if you're that appalled, because apparently you at the time you were no more appalled by it than anybody else, because 10?
She went back.
That's how many fingers you got. You
Marvin,
went 10 to
she
10
went back to
different
she went to 10
That's
of
like a
them.
semester's worth of
She went
parties.
to
That's a college
she
semester's worth
went
of
to
parties.
10 parties where women were getting gang raped, and she never reported it to anybody. And she kept going
But now
back.
she wants to be the
She
angel
oh, no,
who's
before I forget all about that, she kept going back. I'm thinking that after the third gang rape party, I might not go back to number four.
the third the third gang rape party?
Well, you know, the first one may have been an anomaly. The first one may have been an accident. The second one, oops, it
Really?
happened again. But three times, fool me three
You
times.
can't even say it without laughing. You can't even take your own self
That's
serious on
crazy,
that now.
Marvin. She kept
So,
going
but
back.
here's the thing. So here's the thing. You know, there's this judgment of who he was as a
Mm-hmm.
child. Because at that point, legally, you're still a child.
Well,
And then you're telling me about some chick who went 10
10
times
times,
to one of
Marvin.
these parties. So she was not appalled,
10 times, Marvin.
which even in that even in that speaks to the integrity issue of her to be willing to be in that environment.
10
Now,
times.
before we put any theological right wrong on it, for a person to go 10 times to this type of setting, and then how many decades later now you want to be appalled
Right.
because of what they did somewhere that you kept going? That's like me being mad that somebody let me in the VIP back when I was in undergrad. What is that?
No. But
That doesn't make
no, but in
sense.
the VIP that just let you in, you saw people get raped 10 different times, and you kept going back to the VIP. I want some vinegar,
Well,
man. Vinegar, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Marvin,
you
can you
know
imagine
what?
that? Can you imagine, Marvin? Here it is. They let you into a party, and the first time you go, somebody gets gang raped, and you see them you see them drug the punch. The second
See, that
time,
makes me
mhm.
that makes me think that she wasn't appalled. She obviously was having a good time and it didn't
No,
matter at that
That
point.
doesn't mean that didn't really happen. If you saw somebody getting gang raped 10
I
different
think it
times,
did happen. I think it did. And let me tell
why
you
do you think it
why.
happened, Marvin?
You have to remember where I went to undergrad.
Marvin,
I did not go to I
you went
did
to
not go to undergrad at a
you went to the
HBCU.
gang rape party, Marvin.
No, I did
Oh,
not go to the gang
okay,
rape
okay. So
party.
then that doesn't make
Really? See,
sense.
that's how rumors get
That's true.
started.
That's true. I'm sorry. I should have did it to you. That's not fair.
But no, I went to a predominant, you know what? I went to a predominantly white
Hmm.
university. I grew up in a predominantly white part of East Tennessee. The part of East Tennessee I grew up in is 5% black. 5%.
That's all. That's all of
Translation.
East Tennessee. It's all East Tennessee. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Not just your
And
part.
that's including like the biracial
Right.
children.
Right.
That's not, that's not like a us or them kind of thing. That includes the children that have, one parent of a different ethnicity
Speaking of,
to get to
speaking
5%.
of, how's your
So
daughter doing? How's Ashley doing?
I don't know how that led to my daughter, but let me stay on
She's all
task.
high.
My
Yeah, she
daughter
was
is
high yellow like she
fine.
was half blue. You know, that's all.
You know what? I mean, she looks like my mother.
Oh,
She's like a living clone of my mother. So can we stay on task? My
I'm with you.
daughter is
Go ahead.
good.
Good.
She's good. But so here's the thing. In that area, the way the non-brown people party, interact is so very different from the way brown people party and interact. They don't have the same concerns culturally, legally that brown people have. And I grew up watching it. And that's why I say I don't doubt that these parties took place and that they happened. Because for them, it was probably no big deal.
Gang rape parties, Marvin. Come on, man. Let's not be crazy. Nobody's that savage. I don't care. I don't care. It's a UN crime. It is a crime in the UN. It's a war crime to do what they accuse this man of doing. Drugging women and then gang raping them.
And do you not know there are pay-per-view things all over the internet for
Are
that
you
stuff?
serious?
There's traffic. I mean, the big thing now is human
What are
trafficking.
you watching on the
And
internet,
that's
Marvin? I need you to get off the computer and what are you
I
doing?
don't watch the internet. You have to remember that I was a hospital chaplain. Do you not know
www.kojic.org. That's all you need to be looking at from now on. Don't you look at nothing else.
it's not about when you work in a trauma center on the weekend in a hospital, trust me when I say some of the stuff that people come into the hospital for is not a stubbed toe.
I know when I worked in
You
Memphis,
were
they all came in for gunshots. I was in Memphis though. It was rough.
They run the gamut. They run the gamut. I mean, you see a lot of stuff in the hospital setting because remember, on the weekend, when everybody's doing what they do, yeah, that's when cars roll up and drop people out the car and drive off. Yeah, yeah. You work in an urban trauma center on the weekend, and amazingly, you know who gets to call somebody's mama and auntie and explain to them why somebody is over there with some
You do, Chappie,
craziness?
every time.
Huh?
You do
Yep,
every time.
yep. They do not call the chaplain for the happy
That's
story,
true. That's
okay?
right.
They call you when the nurses don't want to be
That's
bothered.
right.
They call you when family members need to be contacted.
Yep.
So trust me, you get a definite understanding of things that are going on in the world that you may not have ever even thought
I, I,
about
I, I,
could be a
I was a,
possibility.
I was a hospital chaplain first before I went to the prison. And let me tell you something, man. As much as I don't like the prison, I really hated the hospital.
you you would rather be in a prison than in a hospital?
Absolutely. Because the
Hospital is
yeah,
rough.
that's right.
It's
Hospital rough.
rough.
The death and dying,
It's rough.
you know, having to deal with the emergencies, the death and dying. You know, you see things.
You know when I knew I needed to take a break from it was when I could take a family down to the morgue and then just go eat lunch.
Yeah. That's yeah.
When you get to the point where your
You're
job
really
is
hard.
just
Yeah,
you've done it so
yeah.
much that it's just another day of
Right.
this. That was when I knew I needed to take a break from it. You're like, okay, well, they're getting ready to take somebody off life
Yeah,
support, and I'm gonna eat lunch after
yeah.
that, and
I feel you on that one.
that's when, yeah, that's it is hard.
Yeah, it's
It's
rough.
um, I respect anyone who does that job because you have to do it to really
Yeah,
know what
yeah.
it
That's right.
is.
That's right. You
Nobody,
can't
there's
speculate on it.
nothing written in the job description
Amen.
that tells you what you're going to deal
Amen. Been
with.
through that one.
So,
Well,
um,
so
but yeah, I wanna I think I don't necessarily doubt that these parties happen.
uh-huh.
I don't question that at all.
Okay.
I would dare say they probably did. Whether they're being exaggerated or not, I don't know. I don't. There's no way for me to know that. My bigger issue is bringing up what this man did as a teenager. Um, I think plays against the integrity of the system.
You gotta
Oh,
you gotta
surprise
protect
there.
abortion. You gotta kill as many Negro babies as we possibly can.
I mean,
I mean, feel me on this one, Marvin. Well, feel me on
yeah,
this
I
one.
think we do need to preserve
Yeah.
life. I do believe we need to
I mean, I
preserve
mean, I mean,
life.
at some point in time, it,
But this, I think you gotta play fair
but
if there's such a
listen.
thing.
In New York City, there have been over like the last 10 years consistently, there have actually been more aborted black babies than live births. Do you realize what that does to your numbers as a community? When there are more aborted babies than live births, and what kills me is these Negroes keep going out and voting Democrat because they get welfare. Okay, I'm glad you get what you want, but
I don't think it's
it's got to
because they're
be
getting
something.
welfare.
Somebody tell
You know
me
what?
what
I
it is,
think
please. Somebody tell me.
you know what
So
it
what is it?
is. I'm gonna tell
Tell me
you.
what it is.
It is it is just the sheep following the
Oh,
sheep.
that's true.
Because you're considered a traitor if you think any other way. And we have been so conditioned not to be individual thinkers.
There might be some truth to that, but what you find.
Because most people are not politically savvy. You
Yeah,
know
that's true.
that.
That is true. I probably
So they just do whatever they've been told
That's
is
true.
they like us, so we
Yeah,
vote
no,
for them.
that's the craziest, dumbest reason to do anything like that. I absolutely agree with that. But what I will say is this. I will say this. You know, whenever I talk to somebody about these types of things, it always usually boils down to the most base of reasons. But people want to stay in the nuance because when you're in nuance, it means you're intelligent. You know, because I'm being in the nuance, I'm being really intelligent. When in reality, it really ain't that nuanced. The reason why you do things. You know, mom said do it. That's why you're really doing it. But I'm not gonna do that today. I'm not gonna do that today. I want us to do one other thing, Marva. I want to go over one more time the GoFundMe stuff so we can get this. I really want to do this missions project. I really want to give a donation to missions.
I mean, after you done talk so bad
I
about.
know. I want to eat. I want to eat. I
Okay,
want to eat.
so hashtag
Hashtag
1615.
1615.
The 1615 challenge is the
That's right.
GoFundMe. And I'm waiting back to hear from the designer on the t-shirts. So hopefully it'll probably be a couple of weeks before we have a sample t-shirt to show you. Um, but we'll have t-shirts, and the t-shirts will be for sale, as well as they will be given to people who give a specific amount. Did we say $50?
Is that what it said?
If they give
If
50,
they get
is
$50,
that what you
we're gonna
said?
do. They're gonna get
They
the
give them they get a free
T-shirt.
t-shirt.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like that.
I think that's what we $50 or more will get you a free t-shirt. But if you want to buy the t-shirt, they'll be for sale. I won't know an exact price on the t-shirts until they give me the whole shebang about the printing cost. But what my tentative design, I really like it. And I think when we get ready to go on the mission trip, those are gonna be our
No, no, no,
t-shirts
no, no,
that
no,
we're
no,
gonna
no, no,
like.
no. Not when
No,
you.
you staying
That's right.
stateside.
When you get ready to
I'm
go on a
not
mission
taking you
trip,
anywhere.
I'm not
No.
going. That's right. I'm not going.
No, you're gonna be our phone a friend if we need somebody
That's right.
stateside.
That's
You're
right.
not
I'm not
going.
going.
No, you're not going.
I'm in the concrete jungles of America. That's where I'm gonna be. I want you
It's
to.
hard out here
That's
for a
right. That's
chaplain.
right. I want you to go to Guyana. You can go to Guyana. You can go to
I'm not going
Zimbabwe.
to God.
You can go
No,
to
you know what?
Algeria. You can go to Pakistan. You can go to India. You go all over the world. I got cousins that are really faithful to it. They like to go to Latin American countries. They speak Spanish very, very well. You can go with them. They'll take you and have you
Well,
doing all the
there
mission
there is
work.
somewhere that I tentatively um want to go, but we're going to save that for later because I don't want to get sidetracked multiple. I don't want to sidetrack multiple
Right, right,
issues
right.
right about
We want
now.
to raise this
So,
money so that during the convocation, I can walk up to the president, flick on the Facebook Live, go live, and say, "Mr. President, we wanted to give you this donation to the missions department. We want you to we believe in what you're doing. We want to do big things in conjunction with you. This is not from any one individual. I'm not trying to go on a pulpit to do this. I'm not trying to go. Um,
so you're not doing this to start your next
no, I'm not doing
church?
this to start my next church no more. I'm not. I'm not.
Because you know what? If you want to start a church, I'm gonna come to Memphis, and I'm gonna find you the best crackheads to start a church
Thank
with.
you. Thank you.
We're not stealing nobody's members.
Absolutely. Totally unchurched people, right?
There's plenty of people that do not have a church home that we can go for without stealing anybody's members. I promise you,
I agree.
there's plenty of lost sheep
There's a lot of love. The
to.
harvest is right, but the labors are reassigned to other places.
You know what? I'm gonna let I'm not going there with you.
All right, Marva.
I love missions. I think it's very important that we support missions. And this is a phase one thing that we're doing here, because you're going to hear us talk about missions a lot. And since David wanted to stick with the current event issues tonight, we will get back to
Yeah.
probably liberation theology. But in all the context of what we talked about, the first question that I wanted to bring tonight is probably where we'll start, because it's very significant to this conversation, and that is, what does it mean to be
All right,
liberated?
hold on. Let me write that down because I want to answer this. I'm gonna have a good answer for this on next
Really?
week. What? Got my pen in my hand. Does it mean to be
You are
liberated?
so melodramatic. Do I need to spell
No,
liberated
I
for
think I got it this
you?
time. I think I got it this time.
L-I-B, aided.
Exactly. Conspiracy.
Yeah. So, but yeah, because I think both of these scenarios are good places to talk about liberation, because liberation has to have some life manifestation. And I'm contending that to be liberated, you have to um, you have to participate in the liberation process of others to truly be liberated yourself.
This is something you said before.
So we'll pick up
This is something you said before.
on
But
that.
wait. Now
And
I want to answer your question.
okay,
I will tackle this. What does it mean to be liberated? But you have to tackle this. What does it mean to be empowered?
you don't want
I want
that.
yeah. Well, that's exactly.
You
Yeah, I
don't
want you
want
to answer
that.
that one. I'm gonna answer the liberated. You gonna answer the empowered one.
Okay, economically,
No,
what kind
just
of empowered?
empowered. Period.
You know what? I can answer that
No,
now.
don't want you to answer it now.
That's
That's next week.
I
I don't want to know what your armchair
okay.
definition
I
is
can.
now.
My
Your
what?
armchair definition. I want you to take some time. That's right. I want you to
Armchair.
take some time to get
Armchair.
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 I'm offended. You would make it sound as though I would come off the cuff with something that is not founded
that's, ex-
in
that's
policy,
exactly what you.
procedure, or
That's exactly what
theology.
you're gonna do.
I was just gonna tell you what my uncle
Lord
said.
Jesus, please don't tell what the uncle said.
Now, I can answer that question right
I know that
now.
right now.
Yeah, I
Pass,
don't need to look nothing
pass,
up for
pass me
that.
some of that moonshine over here. That East Tennessee
No,
corn
no,
whiskey.
no. You know what? It is good for cuts and scrapes,
Yeah,
okay?
I know you.
It will
Yeah, that's right.
disinfect any kind it will disinfect any kind of cut you have.
Look. One time I was driving back the long way to get back to Atlanta, right? So I decided
The
the long
long
way.
way
So
back to
I
Atlanta.
was going through Nashville. I went through Nashville.
You know what? You were just taking a scenic
I
ride.
was. So I'm driving.
So you just had to go over a mountain?
Yeah,
Like, I think I'll go over a
but hold
mountain.
on. I made a wrong turn. Like like when it kind of forks, and you know how you can go to like either Knoxville or Chattanooga, right? So, all right. So I went
Right.
the wrong way. I ended up in Lynchburg, Tennessee, the home of Jack Daniels, right? But I didn't really pay no attention to it until I was driving,
This story
and
see this sound
that
now,
juice.
if you ever have to go before the committee, I'm gonna need you to stop this story right here. I didn't know what they sold in Lynchburg.
No. I'm trying to tell you. No. Listen to the story. So I'm driving. I didn't really pay no attention, But then I saw at the side of my eye said Lynchburg, Tennessee, such and such miles. I said Lynchburg. What the world? Lynchburg. I said, where am I? This is before cell phones had GPS devices.
Oh yeah, when you had to know the road for real.
I called my boy. I was like, hey, dog, I'm in Lynchburg. I'm heading toward Lynchburg, man. Where am I at? Man, by the time he finished describing to me where I was at, I was like, Lord Jesus, I do not want to get stuck in Lynchburg. I didn't even think about Jack Daniels. All I thought was Lynchburg. I'm in the wrong place. Lynchburg, Tennessee.
Well, I will say this. Um, Probably not one of the places where you want to just be all willy-nilly.
Right.
Just just not one of those
Right.
places.
No.
Um, Sean said that moonshine will knock out colds too.
See,
Sean, you got to put it in a hot toddy for that.
what is this thing? What is this thing you talking about? Hot tie? What is this? We,
It's what you take, like when you get the cold or the flu. You take
no,
a hot toddy with the
no.
flu.
You got the flu or the cold. You get the oil, the blessed oil, and you rub it on your chest, and you pray the prayer for the sick, and then you go upstairs. You go put some socks on. You go to bed. Ain't no hot toddies.
Put some socks on and go to
It's
bed.
right. You put the blessed oil on. Maybe some Robitussin. Maybe.
Well, I will just tell you that most of my family is saved and in holiness, but I do have a couple of relatives that are not. And you get sick around them, you got a
You got a
hot
hot
toddy.
toddy.
And you were gonna sleep it off and you were gonna wake up feeling brand new.
Brand new, Marvin. Hey,
Brand
how
new.
many times did you?
Because you're gonna sleep and then you're gonna sweat and then you're gonna be fine after that. Like,
How many times did you wake up feeling brand new, Marvin? You got. I mean,
you
how
know
often did
what?
you get
I
sick?
didn't get sick a
Oh, you
lot
didn't
as
get
a
you didn't get all
child.
you,
But you
didn't,
know what? I didn't get sick a lot as a child. When I got in
you got
college,
sick all
I
the
started
time,
getting
huh?
sick. And that was when I found out about, walking to class and stuff. So that was
Most
when I
college folks
found
get
out.
sick all the time.
Well, no, I mean, but that's when I found out about like the hot toddy thing. I didn't know anything about that stuff because, I was around people that wasn't talking about that stuff. But when I went to college and then I had an uncle that was like, girl, you need a hot toddy. I'm like, what's a hot toddy? Here, I'm going to make you one. But you tell your aunt, you fit them blankets back there in that room because you ain't going nowhere. Really?
I'm
So, but
I'm glad you got over your the hot toddy ministry. I'm glad you got past the hot toddy ministry.
it wasn't a ministry. I mean, but see, I didn't get sick a lot. But when I got sick, I was like down for the count.
Lord Jesus.
But you got some relatives that know, and you have to remember in Appalachia, they know some cures now. They know what to cure
I
you
bet
with.
they do.
Oh yeah, they
Cause,
know what herbs
'Cause
to put in the
ain't no doctor
tea
coming
and
through the
the.
mountains no time soon.
You
Doctor
know
come
what?
what?
I wasn't
Twice a
that
month?
far off in the mountains. You know what? Stop it. I wasn't that far off in the mountains. Where I'm from is like right on the very edge. It's like one of the next to the last quote unquote city you get
Tri
to
Cities?
before the
You
national
live near
park.
Tri Cities?
No, Maryville, Alcoa.
Oh, okay.
Which is, like back in the day, that was where people who lived up in the mountains came into town in the spring and the
They came
fall.
into town.
Yeah, because you're on the mountain during the winter, so in the spring they needed stuff for their farming and whatever and replenish supplies and yeah, I mean I can remember when there was signs in the store saying you had to have shoes on to
Did
come in
you
the
say
store.
replenish supplies? Like y'all got supplies, huh?
Yeah, because remember that was where they came down. So if they needed any farm equipment, they had to come down into town back then. They had to come out of the mountains. And so this is like the first town you get to coming out of the mountains on this side of the mountains. And so that was where the town that I'm from is where people would come to they needed seeds or they needed, building supplies to fix things
Look,
that got tore up over the winter, all of that stuff, to buy cars. They weren't buying no cars on the side of the mountain.
I'm talking to a girl who is from the country like that, living in this small little town. That's where she come from.
She's a
I
genius
don't know if she's a
then.
genius, but
What you need to
I
know?
mean, she's a small town. Every time we start talking about these small towns, I think to myself, thank God I lived in the city. Even though Memphis is not necessarily the biggest place.
Why? What's wrong with a small town?
I didn't like small town Mississippi when I went to college there. I left there after the first year and went to Tennessee State. I really wasn't.
Wait, where did you go before you went to
When
Tennessee State?
I went to Rusk College my first year
Where is that?
in Holly Springs, Mississippi.
Well, Mississippi.
I
Self-explanatory.
mean, you make it seem.
It's totally different culture.
Yeah, East Tennessee ain't much different than Mississippi.
It's very different. It's very different.
I've been to
Because
Gatlinburg.
we got really, you know what? No, when you come back, no. You know what? Why are you talking? Thank you, Sean.
Uh,
Sean said he's never seen an ugly woman in Alcoa in Maryland.
that's what I see that. He said he ain't never seen an ugly woman, not a single one. I don't know, Sean. I mean, I don't want to drive that far. I feel like if I drive to Alcoa, I'd be like, have to be in my DeLorean to get back to the future because that place is gonna be back in the past, boy. But
No, because now it's like a suburb of
oh, is it
Knoxville.
really?
It's not. Yeah, it's not like like it was when I was growing up. It's basically a suburb of
Mm,
Knoxville now. Because remember, that's where the Knoxville airport is actually in Alcoa.
mm.
Like my house was 2 miles as the crow flies from the airport.
Oh wow. Well, don't worry. I'm not going to Alcoa. I'll let
No, you're
Sean have
gonna. You know
all the
what?
pretty women there.
I'm gonna kidnap you and I'm gonna take you to Cades
No, we ain't
Cove. I
going.
bet you.
We ain't going no place with no cove in the name. Ain't going no place. Oh, my! Let me go. I gotta eat and go home. I gotta pay this check. Still talking to you, man. Look, all right. Next week, what?
So next week we're gonna really
Yeah,
we're gonna be good
yeah.
theologians
Next week,
next week because
yeah,
this week we have acted like
yeah.
regular people and so
Theological Thursday is back on next week. All right. So, what does it mean to
yes.
be liberated? I got that one, and you got what does it mean to be empowered? And we're gonna go from there
I don't know why you want me to talk about being empowered.
because that's the kick that I'm on. Hey, I heard this. Listen, I heard this woman preach the other day, and when I was in Atlanta, um, over at Hensley Temple. Did you ever go to Hensley Temple when you was in Atlanta? Did you ever get by there?
I don't
I
know.
figured you would have.
I went to so many churches when I was in Atlanta. I think we just saw everybody's church. So I don't know. But
You should have
anyway,
went there. She's one of the few Kojic female pastors that everybody knows is doing it and they ain't scared to talk about it. But she talked about this thing. Yeah, I know, Listen, Mom.
sometimes the way you word stuff. Go
I mean,
ahead.
Mom, look, I'm all about y'all. I'm all about y'all women doing y'all thing in ministry. I ain't never gonna go to one of y'all churches. I'll never do that. I'll never be there. I'll never be a member. But hey, I'm all about it. Y'all do your thing, man. Y'all do your thing. I'll never be there. I'll call you Pastor Marvel all day long. What's up, Pastor Marvel? All day long. I won't be there.
Now tell me why you won't be there. I already know, but I want
Oh,
you to just
I mean,
verbalize it.
besides the fact that I'll be doing my own thing. Besides that fact, like let's say
Besides
like if I
that,
was just
yeah.
Brother David, if I was just Brother David, why wouldn't I be at
Yeah.
Pastor Marvel's church? Because Pastor Marvel, some of us still believe what the Bible says. Some of us still believe it. We might not like it, but we still believe it.
What? No, you can't. No, you can't say you don't
I
like
didn't say I
it.
didn't like it.
I still believe it, but I don't
No.
like it.
But
You can't put those two
I'm talking
concepts
about we. When I
together.
say we, I mean there's a collective body
Oh,
of us,
okay. I want to
and
make
in the
sure that
collective
you weren't
body, we don't
saying
all
you weren't
necessarily.
saying you
No.
personally.
I'm talking about me personally.
Okay.
No. I got no problem with the Bible says. But what I'm saying is, you know, it's not for me. But by the same token, I would never tell a woman, "Hey, God didn't tell you to do this." I'm not getting into that argument. It ain't worth it for me. It ain't that
It's
serious.
not worth
Yeah.
the argument, but now the one thing I will say is I think a lot of people have good intentions, but I don't think a lot of women have what it takes to be a
Oh
pastor.
boy, we're gonna have to do this one next week, Marvin.
Yeah,
I ain't never gonna get to either do that one.
I can say that. I can say it. You
I'm
can't
so
say
glad
it.
you said it. I'm so glad
Now,
you.
because here's the thing, I'll use the example of what we were talking about earlier, chaplaincy. What I had to deal with as a chaplain, most women could not deal with not only the lifestyle, but the context of the
Mm,
work. Most women can't stomach
mm.
it because you got to have a stomach for it.
Well, ain't no argument for me on that one. But that's a different
Um,
discussion for a different day.
Totally different discussion. Totally different discussion. So let me tell you about the most funny thing that happened to me this week, and then we're done
All right,
with
go
this.
for it.
We're going to
All
end
right.
this. So I was minding my own business and parked my car in this parking lot. And this lady in this like couple cars over says to me, "Oh man, you're making me miss my car." And I'm like, "What?" She says, "Well, I used to have a car like that, but somebody rear-ended me." I said, "So why didn't you get another one?" She said, "Well, because I didn't have $1,000 deductible." And I said, "Well, I'm sure, your insurance company would have worked with you because if the other person rear-ended you, it was probably at their fault. So you still should have filed a claim, and you should have filed a claim on their insurance." She said, "I didn't file a claim because I didn't have $1,000." I said, "You pay insurance every month. You should file a claim." She says, "I just didn't want to because I didn't have the $1,000." And she said, "Every time I told somebody that, nobody ever told me I should file a claim." I said, "Because if you're telling them you have $1,000, they think you're asking for the money. They're not they're assuming that you've already talked to your insurance
Mm.
company." She said, "But I just didn't want to file the claim." I said, "Okay, look." I said, "You pay your car insurance every month." I said, "You had coverage?" "Yeah." I said, "You had full coverage?" She said, "Yeah, I had full coverage." I said, "Well, then why wouldn't you file a claim with your insurance company?" She said, "Because I didn't have the $1,000." She said, "But the good news is I sold it online for $4,000." I said, "You sold a car online for 4,000?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, why didn't you just trade the car in and get a new car? Because if you had filed the insurance, they probably would have given you enough money to get started in a new car." She says, "Oh man, nobody ever told me that before." She said, "Every time I kept telling somebody I didn't have the $1,000, nobody ever mentioned that." I said, "Because everybody probably thought you understood." I said, "Why would you have full coverage if you weren't going to do it?" She said, "Well, because they said I have to have insurance to drive." I said, "But it's there for a reason." Like, I'm getting frustrated now, right? So I said, "So what do you do for a living?" And she says, "I help people create generational wealth."
she's an
I
she's an
said,
insurance salesman. Yeah,
"What?"
exactly.
She
What?
said, "Yeah, I help people create generational wealth. So I'm in insurance." I said, "Well, then how you didn't know that?" She said, "Oh, I didn't do casualty, but I help you manage your assets so you can create generational wealth." I said, "So what do you really do?" She says, "Oh, no, that's what I really do. But I also sell hemp seed oil
Right.
too." I said, "Okay."
So you dealing weed on the side. I'm, I'm helping y'all create generational wealth and selling weed on the back end.
No, 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 no. Hemp seed oil
It's the
because
same
it
thing.
cures everything that ails you. I was like, why
How
me?
long
I'm minding my own
how long you
business.
been using hemp seed oil, Marvin?
I've never used
I'm
hemp
finna
seed
say
oil.
that
I don't
hemp
even,
seed oil is not that ain't blessed oil. I done told you. You supposed to get the blessed oil, rub it on your head, rub it
you know
on your
what? You
chest,
have
and
accused
put your
me of
socks on
like
and
a
go to
dozen
bed.
things you have
In
accused
Jesus'
me of like a
name.
dozen things in this last little conversation. You have accused me of, I think, just about everything you can
Cause you
think of.
you guilty,
But
Marvin. You
you
guilty.
know
You
what?
guilty.
I you know what? I am not
You're not
guilty.
guilty.
I am not
That's all right.
guilty.
That's all right.
The fact that the fact that I'm sitting here having this conversation with you says that I'm
You're
not
not guilty,
guilty.
Marvin. Look, Marvin, it's good. It's good talking to you. Always is. Can't wait to talk to you next week.
Yes, go finish eating whatever you got
I ain't
have
got
that's
much
been
left.
baptized in grease.
Uh,
I'm sure it's been baptized in
yeah,
grease,
this is not. This
whatever
is
it
whatever. This
is.
is not good for me. This is not. This is not going to be good for my my
It's
heart.
not in whole, not cooked in
It's
holy
not cooked in
oil.
holy oil. So, I didn't pray the right prayer over it. You know the prayer where you bless,
Yeah,
Lord, take all the calories
I'm gonna
out.
need you next time. I'm gonna need you next time to take your own oil. Go get some of that oil from that prayer room in Mason Temple and take it with you and tell them they got to fry your chicken in that oil. I need my chicken
I need my
anointed,
chicken
so you have to
anointed.
so I need you to fry it in this holy oil from Mason Temple.
The Mason Temple oil. All right, Barbara.
And don't with the other oil.
All hearts and minds clear, man. Your boy Sean like y'all got to go, man. This got
Yes,
wild
because we have
today.
been completely off task
Yeah.
today
Don't,
from somebody who had to take an accidental trip to Lynchburg. Wink,
man.
wink.
All right, Barbara. We gonna pray that the Lord bless you in your old age. We go
In my
in
old
your old
age.
age. All right.
Okay, so you know
All
what?
right.
Hey, but you know
Yeah.
what? If you had to preach a sermon, just the text, we're not going to talk, we're not
Right.
topicing. If you had to preach a sermon on liberation, what would be your text?
I mean, do I have to preach? Can I preach any text? You're not eliminating any text. Like you're not gonna take away the Exodus
Not
story.
eliminating the
No.
Bible.
Mm. Uh, Probably. I think it's Haggai. I think it's Haggai 1:6. I think it's Haggai who says, I will make an utter desolation, and affliction shall not arise a second time." Like God says, I'm gonna utterly destroy the things that's been binding you, holding you back, and the affliction that held you back will not rise a second time. So, and my text will probably be,
Mm.
"It's over." That's probably. In fact, you know what? I might preach that this weekend. See, that's how I've been studying.
So now that
Now that you think about it, I might preach that this weekend. I was.
so you get to ask me what mine would be?
What's your text, Marvin? If it's good, if it's better than mine, I'm gonna steal it.
Wait for
Okay.
it. Wait
All
for
right.
it. Genesis 31 and 9. I'm leaving your bondage behind.
Good night, Marvin. May the Lord watch
May the Lord
between me
watch
and thee.
between me and thee while we are
No
absent
more
one
Lord.
from another.
All right. Take